Hi, this is Mark Littleton, the minister of the Word for the Athens Church of Christ, with today's 3-minute sermon. This week we have been focusing on one of my favorite passages in all of the Bible, and that's Romans 8 and verse 28. I bet it's one of your favorites as well. There the Apostle Paul writes these words. He says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who've been called according to His purpose." Paul is saying in that passage not that everything that happens in our lives is good, but he is saying that God can work in those things that are not good to bring about good for those who love Him and for those who are called according to His purpose. In other words, for followers of Jesus. Paul understood that was true not only because he was inspired by the Holy Spirit to write it, but he also knew the truth of what he wrote in that verse because he had lived it and experienced it in his own life. There were many times where God took something in Paul's life that was bad, and God worked in the midst of that and brought about results that were good, results that allowed God to be glorified and that allowed the good news of Jesus to be spread. Results that even allow us today, when we open our New Testaments and we read them, over half of those books were written by Paul when he was in a prison cell, a time where it would have looked dark and it would have looked like nothing good could come out of this, but God used it to produce good. And so what we've been doing this week is taking that principle and applying it to the current crisis we're going through as a people right now. And even though there's nothing about this situation particularly that's good, I've seen God work in it to bring about things that are good. And so every day this week, and probably a few days next week as well, I'm sharing some things with you that are good that God is doing in the midst of these days. And today I want to share with you this thought. I think one good thing that's coming out of this time is the pace of our lives is slowing down a little bit, and we're having more downtime. And I think that is a good thing. Listen, we as Americans have a tendency to live very hectic lives. We go to work and things are hectic. We come home and there's this place to go to with the kids and this thing to do, and it seems like we're running all day and then running all evening, and then by the time the evening is over, we're running on empty, and we have very little time for each other and our families to really connect with each other or to do things that are significant, even in our relationship with God, like prayer time and quiet time. And so one thing that this time right now is forcing us to do is to step back a little bit, to slow the pace down, and to begin to maybe spend some time in some areas that we have neglected. Let me encourage you, take advantage of this time. I know it feels unusual, maybe not being able to go to work every day if you're working at home. The kids are out of school. That seems very unusual. We're wondering what in the world we can do. Use this time to do those things that you always said, man, if I just had time to do this, I'd spend more time doing this. Well, you've got the time. Now's the time to do those things. Spend more time with your family. Just doing things together, going out in the yard. It's a beautiful day today, and we've had several stretches of beautiful days. Go do something outside together. Work on a project together. Hey, spend more time reading the Bible together. That's one of those things we always say, man, if I just had time. You've got time. You've got plenty of time now. Spend some time doing that. Spend time in the Word. Spend time with your family. Spend time looking for ways, even right now, to serve other people. This slower pace that has kind of been forced upon us, I think, is actually a good thing so that we can focus on the things that are most important. Well, that's it for today. Lord willing, I'm going to be back Monday morning, and we're going to share with you a few other things that are good that I think God is doing in the midst of this time right now. Things that if we're not careful, we can completely overlook. God bless. Have a great weekend.